Um, The next item is 11, action as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. Before I begin, I have a statement to make that deals with something we did talk about in executive session. As some of you may be aware, an article appeared in the state paper yesterday stating that reporter Bristow Marchant had a letter of complaint signed by 2 former trustees and 3 former superintendents of School District 5. The complaint was sent by these individuals to Cognia, formerly known as Advanced Ed, which accredits a majority of school districts in South Carolina, including School District 5. In their letter, these individuals are attempting to invalidate the district's accreditation status by alleging impropriety on behalf of the board and Dr. Akil Ross in the formation of the employment agreement between Dr. Ross's for-profit LLC, Heart Ed, and the board. Our attorney, who is here tonight, has advised us that these accusations have no merit and that the community should not be concerned about the district losing its accreditation. Also, Dr. Ross has advised the board that he is in the process of retaining legal counsel to represent him in response to the accusations of impropriety made against him by the former trustees and superintendents. Ironically, one of these individuals quoted in the state article as being involved with the complaint. Dr. Herberg served as the district's interim superintendent for a period of several years during which he was employed through his LLC. Also, there are several factual inaccuracies in the letter of complaint that I will ask Dr. Ross to address. We will continue to keep all of our stakeholders informed about this matter, and in the meantime, I would ask that we focus on what's really important in this district, and it's our students and teachers as we welcome them back to a new school year. And I know not a lot of people probably even read the state, but I felt it was very important that I correct this article that they wrote, that, by the way, was in the paper on Sunday, and we heard from it on today. So, Dr. Ross, I would like you to comment on the LLC and your.
I'll be brief. Thank you, Madam Chair, because I want to get to Cassie's presentation on Piney Woods so we can welcome teachers back tomorrow. I do appreciate the opportunity to explain, my side of the story. Kind of feel I may have had the shortest honeymoon period, but it's really not about me. It's really about the work that we're doing, as people have said, how are the children. So, to be clear, I don't have a PowerPoint, but 3 years ago I started a consulting company called Heart Ed LLC. It's an S corp, and out of that I have books, speaking, consulting, which includes executive coaching, staff development, and leadership services. That's the business that I did, and while it's not anybody's business, I'll go ahead and say it. Last year, I cleared, I paid myself $24,000, and that was my salary. I work at the University of South Carolina as a affiliate professor, and I made $25,000. I made a total of $49,000 last year, and that's, while that's not public purview, I'm just telling you the truth. That's what happened. An opportunity came to be interim superintendent here, interim superintendent, with a guarantee of 60 days of employment. And I went to my tax professional and asked, who pays my FICA, my Social Security, that pays SC due. I have to pay all of those things. And I said, for this interim contract, what options do I have? Option A, you take your salary from $49,000 to $178,000. Or option B, you get paid through your LLC because you're only guaranteed 60 days of employment. I said, we'll go through the LLC. Many superintendents on an interim basis have done this. This is not any abnormal practice. 2 years ago, I started charity called Heart Ed Youth Zone. Heart Ed Youth Zone is a charity that founded to help kids who are living in affordable housing complexes. It's my story of someone reached out to me and gave me an opportunity. I needed $50 to play football. My mom didn't have it, and somebody gave that to us, and I think I'm here because of that. So, excuse me, started that foundation to give other kids that opportunity for summer camp, for after-school camp. We started a foundation. We raised money. Payroll is $4,500 a week to keep this going. We have 73 students or children from Harbison Gardens, from Irmo Village. We have buses. We take them there. We teach them reading. It's at the church, so they learn God, and they get education and recreation. They've gone fishing. We've done a lot of good, cool things. I had to explain to them last night that the person they're doing business with, who's in the front page of the paper above the fold, is not a crook. And I keep doing business with me. I understand that there are those that don't want me here, and I understand that. But while I'm here, I will find the heart of this community. I will use that creation force to bring us together. Do not confuse these two organizations. The district has never done any work with my foundation. The gifts that were graciously given by board trustees are not a part of School District 5. This is a separate entity doing work in Irmo, South Carolina, for kids who had experiences like me. And I hate to take this time away from matters of the district, but to take this work and use it against the accreditation of my home school district hurts in a different way. And I am apologizing for losing my composure, but I do want you as a community to understand that I don't do this for the money. I will find the heart of this community for the interim time that I'm here, and we're going to follow that heart. And I stand for any other questions about that.
Well, we're not. And he won't tell you, but he saved us $65,000 setting it up that way, as our legal counsel out here said that's what's normally done with someone in an interim position. But you may not be in that very well. I think we have Ms. Huddle, do we have a motion that has to do with?
We do.
Now that we're ready to.
We do. Thank you very much. I would like to move that we approve selected employment items, Exhibit A.
Is there a second?
A second.
I have a second from Ms. Hines. Any questions? All those in favor? And Nikki is a yes, or all a yes. That's 6. Well, there she is. Yeah, I knew she was there. Thank you, Nikki. And then, so that passes. The other one is for information only. So C, legal advice regarding personnel matter. There's nothing on that one. Okay. D was legal update. There's nothing on that one. Or do you have a
D.
motion? Okay,
Yes,
that's your
ma'am.
motion. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that effective immediately, the board consider meetings of its officers to set the agenda for board meetings to be meetings of a public body for purposes of FOIA. While neither FOIA nor applicable case law specifically address this issue, and the agenda has been set in this manner for over 28 years, I believe that those meetings should be public to the extent appropriate.
Is there a second? Ms. Hines seconds. Any discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please. And that is 6. I see Ms. Gardner's hand. 2-0. Thank you, Ms. Huddle.
I believe Mr. Lovelace has a motion as well.
You have a motion too. Got yours.
You want me to read it?
You read it.
Okay, I'll make the motion. Madam Chair, further on item 3D, I move that the board formally accept the resignation of Dr. Christina Melton as Superintendent of District 5, and also formally ratify the separation agreement entered into by Dr. Melton and the board on June 14th, 2021. The agreement was mutually negotiated between the board and Dr. Melton in executive session as required by Section 11 of Dr. Melton's employment contract and as permitted by Section 30-470A1 and 2 of the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. While our legal counsel has advised us that FOIA does not require a vote to accept a resignation and/or to ratify a separation agreement, she has also advised us to take this action in the hope of resolving the lawsuit filed by the editor of the state paper before we spend monies defending against litigation that is much better spent in the classroom.
Is there a second? Mr. Lovelace seconds. Any comments? All those in favor? And that is Nikki. That is 6-0. Thank you, Ms. Huddle. And I certainly hope that the public understands that this board is committed to doing the right thing and to spending the money on the students, not lawsuits. Okay. What other thing in executive session? Was that our last motion of executive session? You have one? Yep, okay, yeah. All right, so now we're going to go to 12, approval of district's attorney listing for 2021-2022, Exhibit C.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the attorney's list as provided in Exhibit C.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Huddle seconds. Any comments?
I actually have a question, and I apologize, I just didn't have time to review this ahead of time, but the exhibit has, I think, Mahoney, Halligan. It says Folly and Regal, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, but on their website, they don't list those two names. So I'm just wondering if there was and I didn't even see a Folly on their list of attorneys. There is a Regal. So
Ms.
before we approve it, I just wanted to get clarity on
Ms. White,
those
would
two
that
names.
matter if that name is not correct on there?
Okay, so. It,
Mahoney and Williams, then you're fine.
even if it has those two extra names on the end.
That's fine. Yeah, you don't need to worry about that.
And I had another question. If we would like to add any attorneys, even though we vote on this tonight, at another time, and if it's on our agenda, we can add another attorney.
Certainly, you can put that on the agenda for a subsequent meeting to add any attorneys you might wish to add.
Okay,
I
thank you.
wanted to add one thing to that. The attorneys, other than the bond attorneys on that listing, were responders to an RFP. So that is where those names came from. That was the names that they responded to the RFP under. So I don't know if we would need to go back to the RFP process to add attorneys other than bond counsel, or would we be able to just add?
My guess is that with the RFP, it might have been those two attorneys who signed the letter, Ms. Foley and Mr. Regal, but it was on behalf of the law firm. So I don't think we need to go back and do that.
But would we be able to add additional attorneys, even though this went through an RFP process in the future? Would we need to go back to the RFP?
Well, you're not legally required to extend an RFP for professional services such as accountants and attorneys and so forth, so you wouldn't be required to do an RFP to secure, to add an attorney.
Perfect. I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
And to that same point, they're listed with, say, their expertise. And sometimes it might be the same, I don't have it in front of me, but it may be the same law firm for two different expertise. And so I was just thinking, as we've talked about, maybe there's another expertise, and we can bring that at another meeting. I just want to be sure it didn't have to be brought up when we vote on this group.
Yeah, certainly, you can bring that up at a subsequent meeting, and you can either decide to send out another RFP, or you can simply have a motion to add an attorney to the firm, since you're not obligated under your procurement code or state law to actually do an RFP for legal services. A lot of districts do that, but you're not required by law or your procurement code to secure attorney services through an RFP.
Thank you so much. So we will vote on, we have the motion and second, and questions. Any other questions? All those in favor? And that is, thank you, Ms. Gardner, that is 6-0. Number 13, reinstate board policy ECB, building and grounds maintenance, Exhibit D. Now, do we need a presentation? You got it?
I'd like to make the motion to reinstate board policy ECB, building and grounds maintenance as per Exhibit D, in which the administration recommends to reinstate the portion of the policy designating the building principal as supervisor of custodial staff members.
Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Hogan, seconds. Any questions? It's just kind of putting us back to like we were before COVID. All those in favor? Okay, thank you, Ms. Gardner. That's 6-0. 14, status update on Chapin High School, Layton construction defects. Do we have Mr. Beatonbaugh?
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Ross. Would like to provide you an update on the roof situation at Chapin High School. According to our attorney, the contractor, subcontractor, or supplier or design professional, they have 60 days to respond. They were served on July 20th, and we received notice on July 21st from their office in New Jersey that they've received our notification. So they have basically until the end of September to respond. They haven't responded yet, so we're just kind of in a waiting state until they do decide what they're going to do. So,
Mr.
Go ahead.
Oh.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I was just going to ask if there were any questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, we were making an effort, a concerted effort, to preserve our rights as far as notification and everything under the statute of limitations. So when that 60-day period is up, we still have preserved our rights because we served notice before before the 3-year statute of limitations expired.
yes, sir. According to our attorney, that is correct.
Okay, so we were successful in, for everybody's edification, we noticed this, it wasn't very long ago. We noticed this maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and through Mr. Beatonbaugh's leadership, we hired an engineer to inspect and make a report. And in order to make the claim, we had to have that report done and approved by the board. And we were sort of under the gun because of the time frame involved. But I want to thank you and your staff and everybody involved for quickly getting that done and preserving our rights.
Yes, sir. And as soon as we get updates, we'll bring those back to the board after we hear back from China Construction.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beatonbaugh. Any other questions from us? We appreciate that. 15,